National Health, Education and Allied Workers Union has signed government's wage deal for public servants. This thwarts, it seems, threats of strike action next week. The Public Servants Association was threatening to shut down the public service in what they were calling for this coming Monday, a day of rage. Government now has a 50 plus 1% majority from unions, which makes any mass action illegal. So let's get reaction from government. Minister for Public Service and Administration, Minister Ayanda Dlodlo, joins us here in our makeshift Santon Studios. Evening to you, Minister.
Lovely,
thank you. I'm glad you found us. So just give me your first reaction to the news that the majority of unions seem to have signed.
Well, I'm very happy that the process is now over. We have an agreement on the table which will effectively be implemented next week, Monday. So we're good to go. We're good to implement all of the issues that are placed on the table that we have all agreed upon. And the strike for Monday will not go on because we have more than just a simple majority. That means that we can implement the offer.
I spoke to the PSA earlier, Minister, and they'd say that these unions had sold out. What would you say?
Well, COSATU could say the same of them, because in the past COSATU has gone on strike, and the Public Servants Association was nowhere to be seen. So this is an issue between the unions, and the employer does really not want to get involved in things like that. But if that's what they say, it's the same. They've done the same to COSATU before, and maybe tomorrow COSATU will do the same thing to them. So it's a numbers game. It's people flexing muscles. It's part of
the problem is, Minister, it's not necessarily the people on the ground flexing muscles, it's those who represent them. And that's what I'm wondering, do you think the unions should have fought harder on this? I know you're wearing your government cap this evening, but they gave in quite easily, do you think?
I don't think they did. Remember, this took quite a while for us to actually get to where we are today. It's been a protracted process of negotiations. We've been bargaining very, very hard. We've lost some, the unions have lost some, but at the end of it all, we've not lost the relationship that we have, because this relationship is what is good for South Africa.
How are we going to prevent seeing something like this in future? Give me a sense of the details behind this agreement that's now in place. I've been hearing that there's 2-3 years that these workers and these unions have been tied into. Is that essentially what this is?
Yes, we have a 3-year wage agreement. We've had the 3-year wage agreements, I think, for the past 2 cycles, if I'm not mistaken. So it gives us a bit of time to really work on other issues other than going to the negotiating table. Well, we have to concentrate on the work of governing. We have to concentrate on the work of service delivery. We have to look at how we implement for the workers the benefits that give them a better life, like the government employee housing scheme, have it put into effect. We also have to look at a new remuneration package that actually helps us to deal with the runaway wage bill. But there's many things that are on the table, and it gives us enough time to implement on them.
How do you find this balance, Minister, when the unions were demanding 12%, I think the number was, government came back with 7%. Clear it's been signed now, but how do you even begin those negotiations? You mentioned managing the wage bill, and that is the problem, isn't it? You've got to try and find a middle ground, knowing how little you actually have.
You must remember that it's not just the Minister of Public Service and Administration that deals with these issues. Behind me is an avalanche of structures that I am accountable to with regards to wage negotiations and the offer that is placed on the table. I am one member of the negotiating team from government, which is given a mandate by the mandating committee of ministers and premiers. Now, that mandate is what I place on the table on behalf of Cabinet and the mandate committee, on behalf of the employer, basically. And it's not an Ayanda show, it's not a one-man show, as the Public Servants Associations would want the public to believe. I placed what was mandated of me to place on the table, and that's how it goes.
I asked the PSA if these unions who had now signed this agreement were being bullied by government. Were you?
I don't know if I have the strength to bully such a huge force. I mean, this is 1.3 million civil servants, and a sizable number of which belong to the trade unions. I'm not sure if we have the muscle to bully, but we use tactics of negotiating to have what it is that we think we can afford. And that's what happened in this regard.
And I'm not a mathematician, Minister, so forgive me. It seems like quite a lot of money is now going to be saved. As I mentioned, the unions wanted 12. The agreement has now come in significantly lower than that. How are workers going to still benefit from perhaps not getting more at the end of each month, but that money that's now not going to that 12% demand, which we'd heard of? Where does that money go now?
There's no saving that is going to be made, because we never even had that money in the first place. We don't even have the money for the 7%. We're going to have to find the money somewhere within the money that is already allocated. There's nothing more to scrounge around from. So it's not as if we've made any savings. There was no money in the first place. What we had in the envelope was 110 billion. We are now 30 billion above what was given to us. We'll have to find it somehow.
I appreciate your time coming in. Thank you very much for speaking to us. It's the Minister for Public Service and Administration, Ayanda Dlodlo, joining us here on Newsnight.